Who's got the walk-on music?
Mike, you want to write us a theme song?
Yes.
Do it.
Yeah, right now?
Yeah.
We are 70 Lewis, sitting in the basement of Taylor's house. That's the little intro to our
Perfect.
podcast.
Cool.
Welcome, y'all. How's everybody doing?
Really good.
Good. Yeah.
Calm, cool, and collected.
I love it.
The
So,
alive.
theme of today.
We're back together after
35 years.
17.
35 cold years.
what's it been? 12?
2025. I don't know, it's
2012?
12,
13 years?
13 years, I think.
Yeah.
Simple math's hard.
When did the band start? 2006, 7?
Yeah.
Six.
Was it 6?
I was 13.
I was actually 15.
Yeah, I think you guys started.
That's wild.
was-
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
you were
that's
15
actually
years
wild to
old.
think
That's
about.
2006 is when it started, I think. or
I
2007.
graduated then.
High school.
So I think,
2007.
Okay.
and I had never really performed, like sung on stage ever.
It was kind of crazy because we all met real young,
Yeah.
and then I was playing. Me and Chris were playing out.
You had hair.
I kind of,
Couple.
and
I have photos to prove it.
we were just scooping you guys up out of Lakewood High School, just like picking out the best players, and here we are 20 years later still playing together. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It is hard to believe that it's been that long.
It is
It
pretty
doesn't
wild.
feel like it though.
It
really,
also,
like we've all hung out in some way or another.
yeah,
Yeah.
we've all stayed in contact, but it's also wild that we're back together playing music again after 12 years of not playing music. Now that being said, me and Chris have still been playing together pretty much the whole time. Me and Taylor have been playing consistently now together for 5 years, every single weekend.
Yeah.
Dude, more than that. I mean, if you count Radioactive, 7.
That's true.
Yep.
That's true. So we've still been playing together on and off for the whole time.
If it doesn't feel like it, but I think I played like dozens and dozens of weddings with you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Like it,
Yeah.
that felt like a flash long ago, like almost not rememberable. But I was there for so much of that, and you did so much more. But like that was a lot of playing,
It was a lot of playing.
a lot of really fancy weddings. That was cool.
We had a lot of good times for sure. So
we
the
came
crazy
so close to jumping in a pool once. It was like some rich person's like backyard. It was a mansion, and they were just like chanting USA and diving off this
USA.
balcony. Yeah, everyone we were done. We were loading up, and they're like, "Jump in the pool!" And he just goes like soaring over the edge, like with a flag on his back. It was unreal,
Amazing.
Yeah. And Brittany's, the lead singer Brittany, she looked.
Oh, wait.
My first thought is like, I want to do it, but I see Brittany. I'm like, they're just joking. We
I actually
can't.
remember this
and she's
wedding-
like, I have a change of clothes in my car. I'm like, let's go!
were we playing up on a raised thing over the pool?
Yeah, like in a
I-
corner.
Over the pool.
I'll remember this. I remember this. It was crazy. Yeah, the craziest part is that me and Mike, who really started the band together and started writing tunes together in 2007, really were out of contact with each other for 8 or 9 years probably.
Yeah, that's also hard to believe.
Like we talked on and off, but we didn't really hang out for a
No.
long time. Like
Bad breakup.
no,
I was gonna say it's like all of us kind
It's
of
terrible, man.
hung out and played and talked to each other, but
So yeah, I mean, going back to
You
when the band
lost
kind
your
of-
hair, and I was upset about it.
yeah, right. No, when the band kind of fizzled out,
As you should be.
we're kind of all going off the rails a little bit. I think.
Yeah,
I think that's a good way to describe it. Fizzled out, because that's really
Yeah.
what happened. There was no we never had even a phone call, a sit down, and anything. I think we were just kind of burned out.
Well, I'll be honest, for me, I went through this whole struggle where I originally thought, because we played in, especially, Kenny and Chris and myself with, marching band, and for me, so many people in that environment were like, I'm going to go to school for music, I'm going to be an educator, I'm going to do this, and so I was like, okay, well, I need to do that, I need to go to school for music, and I auditioned and did all this stuff, and I think thinking about music being my job stressed me out because I just wanted it to be fun. And when we in this band started to actually have some real success,
Yeah.
and had a couple offers and sat down at the table and really kind of started feeling that this could be more of a job, I think maybe it freaked me out a little bit, and it just felt like too much or something. It just felt different. And especially at the end, it felt like we were being encouraged by some other people to write songs in a very specific way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like they need to be 3 minutes and 30 seconds. They have to be
Where's-
like hook this.
Where's your summer anthem?
Yeah,
We
it
were
was like, and so
specifically
we didn't have it. Just for me, it felt it was feeling, and which is ironic because we were really focused on that. You go the whole time and you're like, that's what we want, and then it comes, and it's like, oh, maybe I don't.
It felt like crap. Where were we? I have this visual memory that I'm just getting right now. We had that conversation with that producer, and there was the summer anthem thing, and we like left that building. They had shut that bar down to have us do like a showcase.
Rockstar.
Yeah.
It was,
Rockstar.
it was
Huh.
it was the upstairs of Peabody's.
But then where
Yeah.
did we go
Oh.
after that? We were in some like studio. Somebody was
We
like,
were like in a warehouse, just
yeah,
rehearsing
there were
and
like
trying to
mannequin
write.
heads around,
Yeah.
and we're
We were-
like,
and
we
we
need
were-
a
Oh, that
summer
was
anthem.
Tony's spot.
Yeah, we were Tony.
Of course, there were heads.
Tony had
around
a spot where it was like this,
Tony's
just a warehouse full of things.
Yeah.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, I
this.
remember that. I remember the mannequin heads.
I
and
feel like I've
stuff.
seen pictures of this, and this is
Yeah.
really interesting to hear because I wasn't a part of any of this, and this
Yeah,
is my
yeah,
first time
yeah.
actually hearing.
Yeah, Tony was there. We
So were you-
immediately went.
Were you off in LA by this point?
Yeah, I think this must have already been after we had done some 28 North and 70
Yeah.
Lewis shows.
You might have
Yeah,
even been
yeah,
in
Again,
you
like
might
when
have
we
been in
first
Pittsburgh.
started, you know?
Right.
Except for I was just in a different
Yeah, it's
band.
crazy because you were originally in the band, and then left the band, and then joined 28 North in Pittsburgh, and then came back and played shows with us all the time.
Yeah,
And we were still playing together, even though we weren't playing together.
Do you remember
Yeah.
when we had the show together and it was printed in paper? It was like 26 North and 74
Yes.
Lewis.
and that was
It was
the
like
show,
one of us had done it on
and
purpose.
that was also the show that Waterband was at.
Oh,
That
that's
was just
crazy.
my trifecta
Yeah.
double. Oh, you
of
triple
bands
billed.
gig.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a wild time. That was also the one I think, some wild stuff that I won't speak about on
Uh-huh.
camera went down on. I'll tell you about later.
What?
Oh yeah.
So it was Rockstar, right? So it was this. We played at
Yeah,
House
so-
of Blues.
It was above Peabody's, which
Peabody's.
doesn't exist anymore.
We played at House
which
of
is
Blues
crazy.
though, which is where that it was like a showcase
yeah.
kind of thing.
Oh yeah, earlier in the day.
And so then they were like, "We want you guys to." It was a dumb kind of showcase thing where it was
like
kind of
that one.
gimmicky.
You
It
might
was-
have done that.
I
one.
definitely played
Yeah.
the 70
They
Lewis House
said
of Blues gig.
they said that they had all these bands on the showcase. They call it a showcase.
It was
and
kinda gimmicky.
It was like thinly veiled that there was going to be production like producers
Some
there or
guy
something.
in town
and
or
he
something.
and said
Yeah.
guy was
The
like
mayor.
drunk at the airport at the time.
Yeah.
but then
Yeah.
we get on stage like the lad like he wasn't going to come in. It was whatever. He was just flying around on record company money.
Yeah.
that was really happening. All in this night, I saw the whole.
Yeah.
Understood the whole like world of this, and I guess they called him like
Yeah.
they're like, okay, we played last. They're like, okay, there's a band you actually should see. Like,
Yeah.
put the gin down.
And they called around different venues. And that ridiculous venue was
Yeah.
the only one available.
Yep.
And we had to like move our stuff up the stairs.
Did we
all of it.
do 2 things for him? Did we do something at Lava Room?
we did. We did.
We did an acoustic thing
Yes.
at Lava Room.
Yes.
In one of the side rooms.
Yes.
And then he
came
wanted to
again.
see the whole band.
Yes.
So we ended up doing 2.
Yeah.
It was a weird time in music too, because it was right in that time where traditional record contracts were gone.
Yeah.
They really didn't exist anymore. Streaming had taken over everything. Record sales were at 0. So these producers that were flying around trying to sign bands knew they couldn't make any money off these bands.
Yeah.
So they were trying to do just production deals, which basically
looking for a
meant
single.
they were going to try to write all the tunes. They were going to try to take credit for everything and try to make you a face that you could profit off of. But you weren't even going to own your own music. You weren't going to.
I had a similar experience out in LA.
And
Yeah.
it was funny because me and Mike sat on a call with
Oh, yeah, I remember
with,
this.
with our producer Mike Brown at Lava Room.
McBrown.
Love Mike Brown to death.
Yeah.
He's still a great friend, and we don't have to name names, but
Yeah.
the producer from LA, and after the call was over, me and Mike pretended to hang up the
Well,
phone.
so what happened? What happened was, I had initiated a conference call, so I was sort of the host of the call, and I realized that they didn't know how conference calls work. So what I texted Scott while we were on the phone, and I said, "Don't hang up." And so after we were like, "Okay, yeah, bye." I just hit mute,
and we stayed on the line.
Yeah.
And we listened to Mike Brown and this guy talk Was it Mike Brown or was it somebody
No.
else?
It
wasn't
was-
Mike.
oh,
Brown.
it was
Mike-
the other guy
No,
from the
'cause
other-
Mike,
We don't
Mike
have to
Brown,
name him, but it
yeah,
was
yeah.
the guy who put on the showcase thing.
Mike Brown
Oh,
actually.
yeah.
Mike Brown actually hung up. So
Yes.
it was the
Yeah.
producer, and it was a local
Guy.
guy. He was a local talent rep.
music. He would put on shows and stuff.
Yeah,
He would put on
local,
shows.
yeah.
Yeah. He
It was a local production
he was a-
company.
Yeah,
I
I
know it in my head, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Gonna say.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember now.
Guerrilla Productions.
And we listened to these two guys talk for. You probably haven't even heard this story.
No.
We
This is
listened to
all
these
news
two
to me.
guys talk for a half hour or 45 minutes
Oh my God.
about how they were just going to
Body
blow
shot
us
was-
up, basically blow us up and reap the rewards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just like a profit
And like,
thing.
and this
Yeah.
other guy, this local guy, had nothing to do with any of this, and really was just talking about raking in money for doing nothing.
It was just deflating.
Well,
it was just really
It was
deflating.
very
So
deflating.
the
It really
the
was.
deal was really.
And I think that also
That's how it works.
that interaction, that conversation, definitely led to the fizzling out
Yeah.
of the band too, because that really
well, the
put a
deal-
bad taste in our mouth.
The deal was that we had to work with the local guy in order to get to the LA guy.
Oh, he was your
because
conduit,
he was
yeah.
our, and so because we were either but then we did go to the LA guy and say, hey, can we do it
Yeah.
directly with you?
But he got kind of
he would, but
swirly.
no, but it wasn't that. It was then we would have to pay
Yeah.
for all
Well,
of his expenses and for everything.
and then he
Yeah,
ended
yeah.
up he did end up actually offering to just come and work with us.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted us to fly him out to Cleveland,
We would have to pay for all in his hotel,
pay for
and
his
all
flights,
that
pay for his
meals,
hotel, pay to
everything.
put him up, to do writing sessions with him. He wanted to be on the writing so that he had writing credits on everything.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare.
So then,
it was a nightmare.
We had decisions to make. So then we went out with Mike Brown, and we sat and we had dinner with him.
Cheesecake Factory.
Well, no, we went to.
This is where you want to go.
Wasn't it?
It was not.
Oh, you're just
not
like
Cheesecake
unrelated to what Chris is
That's
saying.
wishful
You're just
thinking.
thinking
Always
about
wanted
it
to go
right now.
there.
Ooh.
We had pretty
Burger
much
King.
we had sat down with him and we had looked at all the options on the table and pretty much decided at that dinner like we're just gonna do our own thing. We're gonna try and just do it on our own and without outside help.
We
We're
thought
gonna
if
try
he
and- we're
if
just
he
gonna keep
sees this in
moving.
us, we have
Yeah.
something.
Exactly.
We should run with it.
and
Yeah.
we should just try and do it ourselves.
And we
Yeah.
just didn't.
We kind of.
No,
I
no.
mean, we,
Here's the thing. After that, we really did because
Yeah.
we went in. We tracked another single. We had half or more
We
than
started
half
writing more.
of another record ready to go, which was like we kind of did take some direction, right?
Mm-hmm.
We started writing when we first started the band. We were writing more progressive stuff, a lot of instrumental sections, a lot of like heavy instrumentation, and me and Mike would really go crazy with sound effects and different stuff.
lasers. Laser
Sure.
sounds. Yes. Yeah.
And the next batch of material was way more concise. We really tried to focus down on making more concise.
And
Well, that's
So
kind of
right.
what got
We were,
weird, though.
yeah, as a
Like to
band.
your point, is that the fizzling out sort of? It was like a fuse lit, kind of in my brain. It was like coming down to the final moment, and it was just like
Yeah.
I felt, even though we were continuing to write, I had this like voice in the back of my head, like you're doing it wrong. Like you need to make sure that you're staying in this like A B C B block.
Yeah.
And it was like just really destructive to my writing process.
Which is a real bummer because
It's a destructive to a
that
lot of musicians.
for sure it is. That chunk of music that we wrote when we were in that mind frame is really great tunes.
It is. They are.
They're
They are.
really
Yeah,
great
yeah,
tunes.
Yeah.
So going on that train, we'll just follow that right down. In 2021, me and Mike kind of reconnected and just started hanging out again. And I had,
Our love of COVID.
dude, nightmare time, but
Yeah.
it was kind
The
of a blessing in
bonding
disguise
virus.
because nobody had anything to do, right? We were all kind of just like locked up, and I, in the meantime, had put a home recording studio together, and
I mean,
just
I would
started.
call it more pro than home. I mean, it's awesome.
It's a great little home studio. I mean, it's a home production studio. I mean, it's great. I mean,
He lives there.
I mean, it is his home. The upstairs is more pro studio than home.
yeah, that's fair.
If we're talking about the division floors.
But yeah, me and Mike just started hanging out again, and just I mean, really, what were we doing? We spent more
Well-
time, dude. We spent more time watching Instagram videos
And just catching up.
than we did writing music at those times.
Well,
but-
because I would
The
come over to
group
your
chat's
place
lit.
early on,
Yeah.
and yeah, we would write music, but a lot of the time we were just hanging out.
Yeah,
and
we were just
friends.
catching up because
Yeah.
we hadn't hung out for a long time, and
Yeah.
we were really catching up on what we'd been doing the last decade, and you know,
It's hard to believe that it was that long.
it was.
between.
It didn't feel like it.
Yeah.
It absolutely didn't feel like it because when we started hanging out again, it felt like we were writing music the week before.
Well, like you said, we've all been in contact in some way or another.
Yeah.
Like through like another mutual connection. Like obviously, I knew what you were up to with the cover bands and playing with Chris, and it wasn't like you were completely off my radar. I wasn't completely off your radar.
Yep.
We just didn't hang out.
Well, wasn't it my
specifically.
wedding?
Kenny was
where
playing
you
with
guys
my
kind of
brother.
reconnected.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the
Gypsy Days is a cool band.
It was
No,
fun.
we were already
It was
hanging out at that
a
point.
disaster,
Yeah.
but it was fun.
But I think then, Kenny, I think for the wedding, wasn't that where I saw you for the first time in a long time?
At
Was that
Chris's
Chris's
wedding?
wedding?
Chris's wedding's when
Yeah.
I hadn't
Yeah.
seen you
Which
in a
is
long
the photo,
time.
That
Yeah.
picture.
Yeah. So you have a very interesting little segment of time there.
Yeah. I mean, well, so when was that picture of Chris's wedding? When was it, Chris? 22?
That's 2022. That's May 30th, 2022.
I don't know. I installed the lighting in that picture. those lights
Gotta
and those
festoons.
you didn't work there. Yeah.
Festoons are real hot right
when
now.
did you leave the Cleveland area?
I left Cleveland right during COVID. If we want to get into what we've each been doing,
Sure.
I could kick it off with a bang. I during 2020, I had been by 2020 I was married and divorced. Chris was my best man for talking about connections, and I had an opportunity to open a bar with some people. And then we did that, and COVID hit, and we closed down the bar. And I went bananas, and I ran away to the woods outside of Akron, and lived on a funny farm for a couple of years. and I got I just lived fancy and free while everybody had COVID. Actually, I got COVID, and but I started working in mental health and addiction recovery, and got licensed as a counselor, and worked in the streets out in Akron and saw some wild shit.
I bet.
Yeah, like for real, really in the streets. And now I'm in nursing school, and in nursing school, everyone's all like prim and proper and trying to be
Yeah.
serious. And like they'll start touching on, oh well, I worked at this retirement home. That's my experience. It's like I had a guy jump out of my car on I-76. Like that's why I decided to be a nurse.
Yeah.
It was
That's
wild.
awesome. I mean, no, you're. I mean, I know you have had some ups and downs, and even seeing you at Chris's wedding was like you're doing really well and healthy, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I was
It's-
rooting and tooting around then.
Yeah.
I think I had just moved back because I live with Becca, my girlfriend now, and her two daughters. And I've been there for like 2 years. And it's funny because you guys were just talking about reconnecting in 2020 and 2021, and like that was 5 years ago now.
That's yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you have a whole journey out
Yeah, man.
west and back.
Well,
Yeah, I
so
mean-
Chris and Taylor
Oh yeah,
We
I
both
always
lived in
know
LA.
that.
Yeah,
both went to LA.
I lived with Taylor.
Chris
Yeah.
lived with me and my wife Crystal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they both went out in the
So yeah, after the band, well, you were 28
Well,
North. You were in
so,
Pittsburgh and then LA.
Backing it up even
Yeah.
further, I mean, back to the early days of the band, we commonly traded shows with 28 North from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
You know, they'd come into town and we'd open up for them at the Winchester, and then they'd open up for us at the House of Blues, whatever. And I found myself asked to join that band in 2011. I had already left the band in I think I left the band in 2009, 8 or 9. But that band 28 North ended up moving out to LA, and then maybe 6 months later or something like that. I think you ended up moving in.
It was that quick, really.
Oh no, it was a little bit longer than that. It was
Still.
maybe a year long because Crystal and I didn't start dating right away, and it was when I was living with her that you moved in with
Yeah.
us.
So then after 70 Lewis, after that was done, it was probably another year and a half after that
it was
that I moved
Must
out
have
to
been
LA. It was
13 or
it was
14
the
that you
end
moved
of
out there, right?
2013, right?
okay. Yeah, that sounds right. My
Oh, yeah,
brain
when
is
did you-
scrambled eggs. Ugh.
Bacon.
Yeah, it would be 2013. It would be 2013 that I moved out there.
And you moved out there knowing that you guys would be.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
he moved out there
still-
to
okay,
live
okay.
with us.
To-
Yeah,
yeah,
we're
to
like,
live
come,
with you.
you want to be in LA? Come live with us, and don't pay $3,000 for a 200 square foot apartment.
Yeah.
You know.
And then you played in all sorts of bands.
Well, then, so then Taylor and Crystal, you guys got engaged. Pretty much, essentially, I moved out there, and then you got engaged and got married. Like
he did that so you wouldn't take
Immediately.
her. Yeah.
I did that so you and I didn't have to sleep in the same bed anymore.
Did you sleep in the same bed?
And then
I
you
hope
moved,
so.
and then you guys
Not
moved back
surprising.
here.
And
was
then,
a
yeah,
rule.
so
It was a
then
rule.
summer of 2014, Crystal and I moved back here. You got your own
I had
situation.
only been out there for like 3 or 4 months, and then they moved back. So then I was out there, and then I got my own.
Didn't you live in a house where like it was like the drummer from POD lived there?
The keyboard
No,
player
the-
from Jellyfish.
Yeah,
it was
the
Roger
keyboard-
Manning.
It was Roger's old house.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It was his old girlfriend,
His
right?
old girlfriend.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then
The keyboardist from Stain.
But yeah, I
his
lived
house
with-
was his girlfriend.
But yeah, I lived
Tom
with
Weiss. Who's Tom Weiss?
AC/DC's light engineer.
Just making
But yeah,
stuff up.
Roger lived in that house. I lived with 2 other drummers. So we had like
Peaceful.
a whole drum space, and yeah. But I played with while I was in LA. I was playing with different acts. I played with an act. Her name's Glitter Rose. She actually ended up officiating my wedding.
Oh yeah.
So that was her. So that's who
Yeah.
I played with in LA. That's the main group that I was in. And I mean, I worked for Guitar Center Corporate. And
Yay.
yeah. Well.
That sounds like a dystopian
Well, no,
nightmare.
but what I was saying, but Guitar Center Corporate led me to like I met all kinds of other
Oh, I'm sure,
musicians.
yeah.
Yeah,
and that was
yeah,
like
yeah.
so cool, and like that's how I ended up meeting like the guitar player that ended up playing, and I actually put together like Glitter's band, from people that I knew at Guitar Center, and it was
Yeah.
I don't know, so that was really cool. And then I ended up moving back to Cleveland
20
because
15?
2015?
Radioactive, what you were saying, John Blair.
Yeah.
2015.
He had. We just had the drummer passed away, Mitch.
Yeah.
And there was just a bunch of gigs, and Radioactive was gigging like I don't know, what would you say, how many times a year at that
ton.
point?
A
Like,
lot.
twice, 2 or 3 times a week.
Was this before or after I stole your bass player?
I still
When we took
Rob-
Mark
That was-
Glinka into
That was
28
that was after. It was
Was
after.
it after?
Yeah, we've
This is so weird. how
we've
this all
traded
comes full
we've traded a
circle.
lot of musicians around over the years
Yeah.
for sure. Well, it's good. We created our own little network of musicians.
Yeah.
Like we all like going back to the Lakewood High School stuff. Like we all just kind of were
And there's-
flowing group of
there's-
guys
and
that were just
speaking
like in
of-
different bands and
I don't
different
know
projects.
if I ever
'cause-
told you this on what you're talking about. When I was in Gypsy Days, we were looking for a drummer. We hadn't found your brother Vince yet. This kid shows up to audition for us. He's got your Zebra Voodoo kick head on his set.
What?
I've been looking for that. Wait,
Wait,
what?
wait,
Who has
how?
it?
His name was Shane. I think he's in jail now.
What?
Oh, Shane.
Yeah.
That's the only one because I have never mind. I have the other ones. I
I
know what
had
the other ones are.
I
but
had the
don't-
one. You had one.
Wait,
And then apparently
The
this
center-
guy had this.
Was
How,
Shane in the
though?
band after or before Vincent? I
I
thought.
think maybe after.
Oh, that's when they were just a trio.
Yes.
It was
You
Shane,
realize that,
it was
like-
Shane, Kyle, and TJ after you and Vincent left.
You
the band.
realize with
Yes.
Chris and my like clinical OCD, the rest of this whole video, we're going to be thinking about why.
Why he had it?
Why?
Dude, I was.
Yeah, there
He
was
was
some
Vincent's
drum
friend
heads.
from like middle school and high school. Like,
Oh, there
this
was a
kid-
Vince connection,
This kid
but-
Shane knew Vincent
Our
for
practice
the longest
space.
time.
Maybe he got it from our space. at
Or
some point,
I
or
had
you had
okay,
it?
I had if
Did you
I had
sell a
it,
drum kit or something?
No, I didn't sell it, but my drum kit was above your dad's shop for a while because Vince and I were writing.
I feel like Zane is somehow involved.
Zane has to be
He will
involved.
be
Yeah.
mastermind.
Yeah,
this
dude, you
operation.
just take it.
So speaking of other Lakewood people, I mean, there's 2 people that we would love to be here with us tonight that are affiliated with 70 Lewis and some capacity throughout the years, and that's Al and Tony.
Yeah.
Tony,
Mhm.
yeah.
You know,
Tony.
speaking
Or-
of just the whole crew of
Yeah.
Lakewood.
Yeah.
talent,
Al's
full
doing
of
great.
talent.
Al
Yeah,
is in
Al's
the
killing it.
DC
2 go-to
area.
bass players.
Yeah,
Shout
Al
out
is
to
in the
Al.
DC area. He is killing it. He is a music teacher and is in a really great relationship. Very successful. Yeah, he's doing really
Hell
well.
yeah.
Yeah. And Tony, I mean, Tony's still playing
Tricky Dick.
every day. Or what? It's
Tony's,
just-
well-
Tony's constant and his
The
kids
most
and the whole thing,
successful
but
cover band in Ohio history.
yeah, the cover band, like it's ridiculously successful.
But Tony is also the bass player of mine, Chris's, and
Yeah.
Taylor's
Metal
power metal, heavy metal
So-
band, Chalice of Malice.
yeah,
We, after moving back to Cleveland in 2014, we started doing the Chalice writing sessions again.
Yeah.
I think the earliest ones I had were in 2015. and just put out the record last
Literally
year.
last
It took nearly a decade to get the
9
record
years.
out. So that is a
It
life
happened, though.
that is a life lesson. We're not doing that with this band.
Right.
So the plan for this year let's take a step back for a minute. When me and Mike got back together in COVID, we got back together in 2021 and started just writing. Just free form writing. We'd have an idea, we'd put it on tape, we would shop it, dump it to the side, bring a new thing in, shop it. If we didn't have the ideas, we'd dump it. We probably had 15 songs, something like that we were shopping around and just demoing. And those demos ended up turning into songs. And then Mike got a really nice drum kit and brought it over just to demo stuff. And then we ended up finishing everything.
It was just so
it just
random.
it just
I
kind
had
of
a
rolled
backlog
because
of material too
part-
from just 15 years
Right.
of just
And
putting ideas down.
we couldn't really do anything besides hang out with each other because it was COVID and lockdown, and we couldn't get anybody else in. So me and Mike were kind of stuck working just me and Mike. We were just locked up there, the two of us.
Our gigs dried up at that time too. Yeah.
Everything did. We had nothing to do, so me and
Our
Mike were
duo.
hanging out like every week, and the two of us just ended up finishing the record. Just
Yeah.
the two of us.
Well, and like you mentioned too, just sort of headspaces. Like I spent a lot of time and energy like focusing on myself, getting to learn myself more like over the years.
Yeah.
Kind of, I mean, it's a combination of you get older and natural, maturing and all of that. But I think I really did a lot of work on myself to just become more like emotionally aware, empathetic.
And it's harder for some people.
Yeah, it
You
took
know?
a lot, and so I credit my wife for a big portion of that. But I think being in that headspace,
Yeah.
then COVID, reconnecting with you, it felt like the music that I had been putting together and some of the ideas you had really could turn into something.
Yeah.
I never expected any of the weird little ideas I was tracking in my basement studio to
turn into what it was. Yeah. Which is great. I mean,
Yeah.
so that coalesced into a record that we are finishing up now, and then with that, we were talking about actually getting the band back together in earnest because we had new material, and then we started talking about all this other material that we were working on before the band had fizzled out, and we're like, why don't we go back and track that stuff too? It never got released and never saw the light of day. So we then got in contact with Chris and Tay and Kenny and saw if these guys wanted to get back in the fold and start.
Wasn't even a question. Yeah. Just,
100%.
like obviously I'm doing this. Like,
So yeah, that material that we did was all the stuff that we were just talking about after East Coast Sunday Morning.
Yep.
There's 6 tunes in total with Sunset. So
7.
7. Well, yeah, okay, yeah, 7. The one's not even finished.
Correct.
We still gotta finish it. But yeah, there's 7 songs total, and that was all kind of the East Coast after East Coast until.
It would have been our next album.
It would have been our next
if we
album.
didn't, if we didn't wait 29 years.
And and then the other material too. I
47
want to
years.
go back to between just my listening with you and Scott. Like I really love the material because I think that it's kind of like you were talking about with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Just the subject matter and everything is all very cohesive, but it's all very much you're in that headspace.
It's very emotional and reflective, and I've always, for whatever reason, even if I'm the happiest I've ever been, I always write sort of like darker or more
Melancholy-
emotional-
very melancholy.
lyrics.
It's cool.
And it's just because I like to constantly be reminded of and remind others that bad things exist and they don't have to necessarily destroy you, and it's the reality of life. And I think probably also it's a form of my therapy to get a lot of that stuff out of my system, so it's not just ruminating.
Yeah, and yeah, it comes off, and it comes off in a very cool way.
So in the broader scope of the band and the project in general, we don't want to wait a decade to put a record out like we did with the Chalice
We
of Balance
should.
record.
What a
Why not, though?
funny
Come on.
joke.
So we have
I'm getting busy. I got
Scott
other shit
has
going
hair
on.
again, like 10 years from now.
So we've got a new record. We've got a new single that was recorded in 2011.
It's vintage.
It's
Yeah.
Literally
coming out.
the time that we were talking with the LA guy and the
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
That
So
was
we've got
the right
we've got a
then,
single
yeah.
that'll be coming out called Sunset
Yep.
that we recorded 13 years ago. We've got an entire new record that me and Mike worked on over COVID that'll be coming out this year. We've got another 6-song record that will be coming out that all of us are on. And we've got an entire, as we were going through this, we were talking about all of our original demos that we did from 2007, 2008.
Well, we have the master archive of just hundreds and hundreds
So,
of
for
pieces
any of you
material.
that don't know Christopher Hoffman, he collects everything that he does.
AV. He's the AV man.
He
Yeah.
has records of
the archival specialist.
every show that we've played, flyers,
You
videos.
track the number of times we played each song.
Yeah, all of our set lists are in a Word file.
Yeah.
And numbered.
Yeah.
It's slightly
And this was
neurotic.
before AI, where you could just dump it in and be like, "Hey, figure this out for me."
Manual.
You actually
So-
did it all.
So to that end, we have all the original demos we did. We have all the live material we played through. We have audio of all the live shows we did back then. So
And we're going to release it all. 7,900 songs.
we're not going to release it all.
$700.
Yeah.
a
But,
month.
but we did
Subscription
come
to
up
our
with a
band.
concept
Yeah.
called
East Coast Sunday Sessions.
the East Coast Sunday Sessions,
Yeah.
and we're going to start releasing all of our original demos, live material, anything else we do
some
now
of the
going
radio show
forward,
stuff.
the radio show stuff that we've
And I
done.
mean, some of it is straight up garbage. but we're gonna release the good stuff.
I don't even think it's
Not
garbage.
the stuff we're releasing. Some of it is just like
it's
eh.
it's not recorded well. It's rudimentary.
Yeah.
but it is. We did it.
Yeah.
It's the
I'm talking about
fundamentals.
stuff
we're
we're not
not-
releasing.
Now,
What's that?
70
Stuff we're
legacy.
not releasing.
Oh, there's stuff
There's
we're not.
trash.
There's definitely garbage.
There's
we're not releasing.
let's talk about
There's
the older
some
material.
illegal shit.
Yeah.
And there, yeah.
We played gigs.
You ever hear of LimeWire? You ever hear of Silk Road?
We invented it.
Yeah.
Silk Road.
Yeah.
We played gigs from like 2007 up until East Coast Sunday Morning, and there's a lot of that material that never saw the light of day, and songs that I think that if you were hanging out during that time with us and coming out to shows,
Stuff that was
you'll
only
be really,
live.
You'll be really happy to like even in a demo version to go back and listen to, and really it's for those
And to
people.
hear
It's
yourself
for-
yelling.
It's
Bread
for
Bear.
those.
Yeah.
It's
Bread
for
Bear. I
those
was going to say,
people.
is there any Bread Bear?
Dude, you know what's funny? As I was going through all this material on almost every one of these live shows, there's 2 people you can always hear yelling in the crowd,
DJ.
like blatantly. It's Tony
Yeah.
and my mom.
Yeah.
Really?
What
Yeah.
about DJ though?
DJ's always
And,
yelling.
and,
DJ,
and
yeah.
DJ.
He
and
was
DJ.
all about Sean, right? Or
Nebraska.
what's
Nebraska. Yeah, that's right.
So there's another like from the early days, from 2007 until East Coast
We
material.
had a lot of local family
There's like
support.
another 15 or 20 songs that we wrote
Yeah.
from the early stuff that never have been released, and only people that have seen us live would have heard it. So we're going to put out those demos on these East Coast Sunday sessions. We're going to put out some live material. So we've got a schedule going through the year of releases through the rest of the year. So all the stuff will be coming out for everybody to enjoy.
15th anniversary. Describe that.
Yeah,
Like
the
pre-pro
deluxe
stuff,
edition or
the
whatever.
So
yeah.
we're re-releasing the record on January 30th, the 15th anniversary of when the record originally came out.
And also,
My birthday.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then in February, in the middle of February, we're going to release a 15th anniversary edition of East Coast Sunday Morning with all of the pre-production demos for the record for all those songs that we did at our practice space. And
They sound so good.
Well,
a live song.
I can't believe how good they sound.
And a live song from
the C release.
the CD release party that was on the day of the
So,
original release day.
Just to describe the pre-production stuff, what we ended up doing was we pretty much recorded the album in our practice studio before we went in to record the album.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we did that so that we could spend less money on recording. So we were prepared. We knew what we were going into and what we were going to do.
Yep.
So we had all the tones mapped out on the keyboards. We had
Tempo
vocal
maps
melodies.
that-
We had
yeah.
lyrics. I mean, we had
that was
everything,
so much
tempo
work.
maps, everything. We pretty much recorded the album before we even recorded the album, just so that way we could save ourselves time and money.
Dude, I remember just
So
like
we have those recordings.
getting off
and it
work
worked.
at
What's
5
cool-
p.m.
what's
and
cool
Mike
is-
just being like, "We have to go work until the sun goes down." Like this every day.
Every single day.
Just in my driveway at 5 p.m. with Phoenix Coffee being like, "Let's go."
Yeah.
Through sickness and
Ah,
like
Phoenix
family
Coffee.
suffering.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
man.
I would go in my truck and pick Kenny up. I had the coffee ready, and I was like,
Black
gotta
and
go.
Tans with Irish Cream.
Yeah.
6
Black and
hours a
Tans.
night for like 2 months to do
Yeah,
that album.
I completely, because obviously, like now, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Just I'm an old man, I guess.
I need
Kids
to go
with
to
back
bed now.
problems
But
now.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. So thinking about that time, like the amount of time we were putting into all of
yeah.
that stuff. I mean, you're right. We would leave after work or whatever we were doing. We would go down there, and into the night, we would be there. Yeah,
Every
we
night.
would, every single night. We
Same
would
at
be
the
there.
studio.
And we were still gigging at that time too.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
So we would have gigs. We would have to rehearse for gigs, but also we were obsessively preparing for the album.
Yes.
Every part, every harmony. I mean, there wasn't a thing that we did. I think like there were a couple fun improvisation solos and things when we were recording. You have to do that. It's more natural that way. But 99% of it was just locked
Yep.
in.
Yeah, we have those recordings. It's interesting that there is one that doesn't have vocals, because that was one where you didn't have vocals.
We didn't have them written yet.
We didn't have them written
Which song
yet.
was that?
Underwater and
Underwater.
Divided.
Oh,
we didn't.
wow.
That was the last tune we wrote for the record,
Okay.
and we didn't have all the lyrics. Well, I think we had the lyrics. But we didn't have all the melodies ready yet. We were kind of still developing that in the studio.
Okay.
So that pre-production demo is an instrumental demo.
I forgot
There
about
also
that.
isn't one of Chico. We wrote that, I think, entirely in the studio.
We
We didn't write it, but we recorded it entirely in the studio. I don't think we.
So we didn't
I don't
prepare
think-
for that
I don't
one.
think
No.
we did a
Wow.
pre-pro for that. No.
I guess that makes me a total
Because I
liar.
remember,
Ah,
I remember in the video that
I just
you
thought
did
I'd call you out.
when you did the fun
Thank
time
you.
video of us in the studio, that little mashup video of us doing the record. I'm filming you at one point. You're playing like you're playing a drum intro. You're like, that's what Chico's gonna be like. And I was like, are we like you were just writing it then?
yeah.
That's wild. I didn't even remember that.
Sweet.
That's crazy. Wow. Yeah, so we've got a lot of releases coming out. Just some new material, obviously, some
Well, so-
material
and-
that's old but unheard.
And then on top of that, me and Mike have been banking another 20 songs.
Yeah, and Chris has a bunch of lyrics. We've been like riffing ideas back and forth and kind of playing with some songs too. I think, but with one of those tunes that you sent, aside from adjusting some melodic stuff, it's pretty much good. Like that's just another song.
So the next step, and this is going to be really exciting for us because it has. I mean, this is the first time we're all in a room together
Since
in a long time since that.
Yes.
Since that, and in as 70 Lewis, this is the first time we're in a room together in 15 years almost.
Yeah, like
That's
13,
wild.
13.
Yeah.
So the next step is working on new material, and the five of us getting back into a room and writing together.
I've been
Yeah,
practicing the trumpet in my basement.
Heck yeah.
The great thing is
That's
we
gonna
have
be awesome.
so many rooms now.
Yes.
We're not limited to one room like we
No.
were in the
Yeah.
past.
We have
Yeah,
this
yeah.
room.
We pretty
have,
much all have these rooms.
We
It's
have,
wonderful.
we have
Isn't
Chris,
being adults
Chris's
great?
basement's amazing practice studio. I've got my studio, so we've got room. Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. No, I'm excited.
Already.
Yeah, and I think it's just more laid back and sort of it's fun,
Yeah.
which is what it always was
The
supposed to
pressure's
be.
gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, plus you, especially you two, and the way that early on there were some
Tension.
egos, tempers, things
For
that,
sure.
like nobody was
We were
perfect.
kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, everybody's
an
just
untamed
grown so
baby.
much as people.
Yeah.
And all of those pressures to make it and do this as a living are gone.
Yeah.
We know
Well-
what this is. This is going to be fun. This is going to be something that we just do because we love.
And I think to that point, one of the reasons why, at least for me, that I always loved this particular group, regardless of what I've been doing, is just personalities. So, like, we get along, like, I could hang out with any of you guys separately, like, music excluded. That's obviously a big part of our
No,
lives.
and we do.
And we do.
Yeah.
But, like, Kenny and I connected, like, on the mental health aspect.
Oh, yeah.
Big time. Like, because, again, like, just to reiterate, yes, we've gotten older and, like, we were kids and whatever, but I had a lot of work to do. You know, there was a lot of work to go through, like mental health wise, to get things figured out.
I had to live in a halfway house.
And so, like,
That's the thing.
but being able to talk about that and be friends first is important.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this group for me different in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm
Brothers.
excited. I'm excited. And again, one of the things that like Scott and I talked about relentlessly, and the reason that we've been writing this album for so long is that there is no timeline.
Yeah.
Which is great. There's no hurry, there's no timeline, there's no deadline. It's
Except for
just fun.
the insane release schedule that you
Well, now
sent
we've
the
got
group
that.
chat.
That's true, but I mean, there's no deadline really. Like with writing, I feel zero pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
No, the cool thing too is that we have so much material like ready to go now that we've given ourselves a year before the material we have to release is released.
Yeah,
So we can take this next year and start writing again.
Yeah.
And get some new material ready.
And so
Play
then
some
going
gigs.
going
And some
forward,
gigs.
I was just gonna say, so going forward, you know, trying to get some shows and
Yeah.
you know, possibly and get out.
I want to
there.
have like a blowout party, like the first show, like the first. I want to go big or go home on that, and do something awesome.
City.
Bring it Tower City Center
like
in the rotunda
orchestra. Oh,
at the very top. So we have to elevator up everyone who wants to see us.
And our gear.
Yeah. No, so I think it'll be cool just because I want it to be like a family party vibe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just fun. Just fun.
It always felt that way.
That's- yeah.
But I mean, at the CD release party, I mean, we had hundreds of people.
We
Yeah.
had a
But it was still
We had a cake.
family.
That's right.
We had a full cake with the album cover on
yeah.
it. Because it was your
I think
birthday.
we got that at Costco.
And thinking about Sunset, I remember how special Sunset felt when we played it on the Civic stage. You remember for the rock orchestra
Yeah.
show, we played Sunset in front of like 2,000-3,000 people,
Yeah.
and they were in the mosh pit screaming
Yeah.
and dancing.
Our last show was at the Bridge. Was that? I think it was the Bridge.
Oh, Ingenuity Fest?
Ingenuity Fest.
Ingenuity
Fest.
Fest. That was so cool. The acoustics were awful.
But
it was
because we were at the
so
end.
on
We were
the
at the
stage,
end of the
like in the
bridge.
crowd, it was amazing.
Yes.
The
But for
vibe, but
us-
on stage, I just remember because like behind you was a cave.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's just
you
like,
were
boom.
I heard notes before I played them. It didn't make any sense.
Our first show
Coming
back
from
should
the
be
past
there.
behind the
Yeah, we should rent the bridge.
Detroit Superior Bridge.
Rent it.
70 Lewis on the Detroit Superior.
Yeah. But no, it's exciting to kind of be back hanging out with the group and writing music and playing live, and it'll be fun. I'm excited.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.